Hello, I'm Bill Oxterman. I'm the co-chair of the City of Muskegon's Public Relations Committee, along with John Van Wyck, and I have the pleasure today of interviewing one of the key folk who interact with city personnel, and that's Dave Alexander, who's the government and business editor for the Muskegon Chronicle. Welcome, Dave. Welcome to campus here at Muskegon Community College.
Thanks for having me, Bill.
As you know, the college is in the city of Muskegon.
I know that.
Okay. And have been since 1963, I believe, when we were brought in, but proud to be working in the city, even though I live outside the city.
We're glad to be here today.
Well, David, you've been with the Chronicle quite a while. What are some of the positions you've had over the years?
Well, I've been there 28 years, and it's amazing to believe that it's been that long, but I believe you were at the Chronicle when I first arrived as Human Resources Director, and I believe you took a test. Gave me a test.
Spelling test. Can you spell Mediterranean?
Not yet. Still can't do it. That's why we have computers, and that's why spell check saved my career. So thank you very much, Mr. Loxterman.
Okay. Well, everybody got the same list. So
yes, we did.
Picked on,
but it felt like I was being picked on because I didn't do very well on that test. Anyway, I came here from Central Michigan.
Still hired.
Yeah, they did. I came here from Central Michigan University, right off campus. Just graduated, had a degree in 1981 in politics, political science, and journalism, and began working in Norton Shores, Fruitport, and Ravenna as a general assignment reporter. So I was doing schools, I was doing local government, I was doing police, fire, everything that was going on in those communities. Till 1983, I then began as our county government political reporter. Did that for 6 years, some very interesting times in our community's history in the late 80s as we were pulling out of the recessions and depressions that we were in, losing all of our industrial jobs. Went on to become bureau chief at the Grand Haven Bureau for 2 years, and in 91 became business editor, and have been doing that pretty much straight through until this year. Starting in February, I became government and business editor because we've got many hats to wear at the Chronicle these days, because we've got fewer people to wear them. So I began covering the city of Muskegon at that point.
Okay. Well, you know, there's two things that I really like about you. I don't know if I've told you this before.
I'm going to hear them now.
Number one, you're a sailor.
There you go.
Got your Nautica shirt on. Number two, you're a community college graduate.
I am.
Your college started at Jackson
Community College. Very right, sir. And it was both Peg and myself, my wife, graduates, proud graduates of Jackson Community College, and it was a great start to her career in education through Western and my career in journalism through Central.
Okay.
So I'm a big supporter, always have been.
Glad to hear it. Now, you've obviously had many different assignments with the Chronicle. Now you're back City Hall beat. In my day, that's a hot beat. That's where all the action is, covering City Hall. Any difference between now and what happened with government back in the 80s when you were doing that?
No, actually, it's very similar. And we're doing some of the same stories sometimes, year in, year out. But I've never covered the city before. So as we were going through reorganization, losing a number of our key veteran reporters, I took over this beat for Bob Burns in February 1st. Bob retired with a number of other Chronicle employees at the time as we are downsizing. And I didn't give up anything. I just added the city of Muskegon and some other governmental political responsibilities back in. But I've always been very interested in the city. I'm a city resident since 1985, and it has been my community, and it's where I've worked and where I've played and where I've lived for all those years. So now being able to cover the city has been sort of completing the circle of my tenure at the Chronicle.
Okay. For a lot of your career, you've been associated with business stories. Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about some of the big stories you've covered over the years and what they've meant to Greater Muskegon?
I've really done a history in the last 20 years of some of the major organizations, major issues that have affected our lives here. Michigan's Adventure. I think one of the coolest business stories I've written about. Here's Roger Jordan taking a Deer Park Funland in, I believe it was 1968. I think it was for $114,000. The man bought this thing with his own hands, with his own family, built it to a $28 million value that he sold to one of the largest amusement park companies in the world. the Fun Inc., which is, help me with it, Cedar Fair.
Cedar Fair. Right?
So they took that over in 2000, and his daughter remains there as the general manager, vice president, the youngest general manager that Cedar Fair, the Cedar Point operation has ever had, and the first female to run a
Pretty
major
remarkable
operation.
story.
And she got that training at Dad's hip, and it is just a cool story. It tells really about the transformation of the Muskegon economy from industrial to service and tourism, quality of life type of aspects of our economy that are going to be very critical now and going forward. So that was always one of the more interesting stories that I've had to tell. Cross Lake Ferry, I started back in 1983 writing about the Cross Lake Ferry service attempts to get it in both in a public and private sector way. And finally, as business editor, wrote in the early 2000s when Lake Express started out that we finally accomplished that with the high-speed service we now got between Milwaukee and Muskegon. Other stories, the downtown redevelopment, going from Muskegon Mall, the demolition, to what was going downtown now in terms of the rebirth of the downtown central business area. Festival development. We have become, kiddingly, the beer tent capital of Michigan. Well, we've done that through things such as the Air Fair, Summer Celebration, and just some very interesting dynamics going on in the volunteer community in Muskegon and in the festival organization. And we've sort of gotten very good at doing festivals, and it's sort of where we have claimed our fame in West Michigan tourism is through that, such as the development of the Lakes Mall and the transformation of our retail sector from the downtown to the Lakes Mall, and that being built, I believe, in 2001. The destruction before our very eyes of the historic industrial businesses that Muskegon has based its claim on. Everything from Sealed Power to Brunswick, and now the Sappy story that will continue. There's the rise and fall of the Double J Resort. I remember being out with Bob Lipsitz in 1992 on the 18th hole of the golf course as it was being put in, the Thoroughbred up in Rothbury. And we've gone to a point where he built a $17 million indoor water park as part of that development. It's the true only destination resort that is in West Michigan, and it's now gone into bankruptcy and it's got a new owner. It had obviously the big Rothbury Festival. So there's been a number of different types of business stories that we've written over the years.
Some of them have been very serious, and others have been kind of on the fun side.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of fun in my job, especially.
Okay. So now you're covering City Hall.
Correct.
And how long have you had that assignment?
Just since February 1st, but it feels like old home to me because I know a lot of the staff over the course of the 28 years here. Brian Mazade, city manager, and Kathy Brubaker-Clark, community development planning director, and I have had quarterly lunches to talk about business and economic development over the last 10 or 15 years. So it's been very comfortable for me walking into that position. I had covered a number of city meetings over the years, whether it was Mike Walsh was the reporter and I was filling in, back with Dave Kolb when I covered the county and Dave covered the city. We'd fill in for each other on vacations. I covered a number of times when Bob was unable to attend or there were critical issues to the downtown that I was covering. So I was very comfortable walking in, and I think we pretty had much a seamless transition between Bob's coverage in the Chronicle and my own.